Morgan arrived in the valley under a sky of churning grey, the clouds crawling low like bloated insects. The truck's tires crunched the gravel of the overgrown logging road as he descended into the old basin, a place carved long ago by glacial violence and then, more recently, by human greed. He parked by the remnants of a rusted fence, twisted and sunken. Beyond it, nature had reclaimed the abandoned mining outpost, little more than a sagging shack, a water tower tilting like a drunkard, and a path leading toward the hills. Morgan checked his gear. GPS, journal, field radio, geological scanner, solar battery pack. He was alone. No cell service, no backup. Perfect. Morgan was a loner by both habit and profession. His work took him to the kinds of places people had forgotten: dry lake beds, mountain crests, and fractured deserts. He liked the silence. It kept his thoughts focused, less room for static. And yet, even as he stepped into the green-stained ruins of the outpost, something felt off. The air had weight, like breath held too long. A hush, not just of sound, but of meaning. He ignored it. Always best to start with the measurable. Day 1, 13:20. Weather overcast, 58 degrees, humidity 79%. Soil appears moist but stable. Echo returns from preliminary seismic taps suggest hollow formations beneath sublayer. Wanty into his logbook and continued past the remnants of the outpost toward the hills. Old rusted machinery poked through the undergrowth like bones. Ferns curled around forgotten signs. But what caught his eye wasn't the machinery. It was the standing stones. They rose like teeth from the forest floor, arranged in rings, some wide, some small. He paused at one, running a gloved hand across the moss. There were carvings beneath it, not letters, not runes. Symbols, spirals within spirals. A single line repeated, an eye. He made a note, but didn't dwell. Locals sometimes put up weird markers in old days. Superstitions, boundary stones, nothing unusual. Still, he avoided stepping into the center. By nightfall, Morgan had set up camp near the mouth of a dried creek bed, sheltered by boulders and brush. His tent was small, efficient, barely big enough to lie down in. He cooked a meal, drank tea, and stared at the fire. The woods were quiet, too quiet. No birdsong, no insects. He tried the radio. Nothing. He tried again, turning slowly, checking frequencies. A crackle, then something. Not words, just breathing. Steady, wet, rhythmic. He turned it off. The fire snapped, but never seemed to burn down. The shadows it cast looked wrong, longer, sharper. Once, as he closed his eyes, he swore the flame hissed a word in a voice like cracked leaves. Stay. Day 2. Morgan explored deeper into the valley, following the dried stream bed. Every few hundred feet, he found more stone formations. Some were stacked in spirals, others balanced impossibly on narrow points. He scanned the ground beneath his feet. The sublayer showed increasingly large, hollow spaces beneath the forest, but they were irregular, as if alive, not caves, not mines, like tunnels grown rather than carved. He tried logging the shapes. His scanner glitched. He took photos. They came out black. The forest seemed to shift with his movement. Landmarks vanished. The sun refused to mark time. Even his shadow was reluctant to stay with him. He walked longer than he should have. When he checked his watch, it had stopped. The sun was lower than it should have been. A pressure started in his temples. The valley made no sound. Returning to camp, he found a small bundle outside his tent, wrapped in bark. Inside, a rabbit's foot dried and bound with red twine, a symbol carved into the bone, the eye again, watching. He looked around. Nothing moved, nothing rustled, even the wind had grown still. He left the charm untouched and went inside. That night, He dreamed of soil peeling back like skin. Beneath it, not roots, not stone, but rows of faces, blank, silent, staring up. He woke with dirt under his fingernails. His teeth ached, and his tongue felt swollen, like he'd bitten it in his sleep. But when he examined it in the mirror from his shaving kit, it wasn't his tongue. It was someone else's, marked with spirals. Day 3. His journal entries became erratic. He found it hard to write full sentences. Ground unstable, patterns repeating, hearing something. Low hum under soil. Tinnitus? Or the rocks were closer today. He didn't remember them being there. He found a ring of stones around his tent, freshly disturbed earth beneath them. Something had been buried and unearthed. He unearthed it again. Bones. Human. Small. He vomited. The radio didn't work, not even static now. That night, a light appeared between the trees, soft like fireflies, but it moved with intention. Morgan followed it, not because he wanted to, but because something in him ached to follow. He walked barefoot, the ground pulsed. He stepped into the center of a stone circle and forgot everything. He awoke in a place without trees, flat stones stretched in every direction. The sky was black but pulsed with veins of red. There were no stars. Just an enormous shape above, like a ribcage stretched across the firmament. It moved. Something slithered in his ear, but when he reached to claw it out, there was only blood. The stone beneath him was warm. He could hear it breathing. Then, silence. He was back in his tent, sweating, covered in mud. He wept without knowing why. Day 5 or 6? He didn't know. He hadn't eaten. His gear was gone. The journal was filled with pages of the eye, over and over, pressed so hard the paper tore. He didn't remember drawing them. The forest was alive, watching, whispering, not in words but in sensation. He felt eyes in the bark, teeth in the moss, hands beneath the soil. Then he heard singing. Low, old, in a language not meant for humans. He followed it to the hamlet. He had passed this way before, but never seen it. Houses of stone and thatch, smoke curling from chimneys, and people, pale, tall, thin. They smiled too wide, moved too slow, blinked too little. "You came," said one, a woman, or maybe a man, ageless, voice like water over bone. "I don't remember coming here." "But you were called." All roots returned to earth. They welcomed him, fed him soup that tasted of soil and iron. They gave him clothes that weren't his, touched his hair, his hands, his face. They spoke of the quiet below, a god older than gods, not seen but felt, not worshipped but fed. It lives in the earth, and it remembers every footstep, every blood drop, every scream. "The hollow is full," they said, "but always hungers." They taught him songs. They drew maps of the unseen tunnels beneath his skin. One gave him a vial of black water and said, "Drink when you are ready to shed." Morgan tried to leave, but the forest folded in on itself. The paths looped. The sun never rose. The next entries in his journal weren't written by him. The handwriting changed. Still careful, but older, curved, alien. Morgan is being made ready. He forgets more each day. He dreams in roots. He listens when the soil speaks. The body resists, but the mind is hollowing. He stopped writing. He stopped speaking. They brought him to the stone circle at last, the largest one. Beneath it, a spiral staircase carved into the earth. You will see the face. He descended. It took hours or days. There was no time. Below, it was not dark. It was colorless. The walls throbbed. The rock pulsed. He heard a heartbeat, not his own. At the bottom, an altar and a pit. They bade him kneel. He obeyed. Do you see? He opened his eyes and screamed, not from terror, but from recognition. The face looked like his, but older, empty, perfectly still. It opened its mouth. Soil poured out. Roots writhed. Bones fell. It spoke without sound, and Morgan understood everything. He smiled. Weeks later, a rescue team arrived. They found the camp, abandoned. The gear was intact. The journal lay open, filled with spirals. No sign of Morgan. Just a new ring of stones where his tent had been. In the center, a fresh bundle, bark wrapped. Inside, an eye carved in bone, watching, waiting, listening.